Hello everyone. Today on this episode, we're going to get to know Asian carp properly. So first off, the familiar common carp. Biologically speaking, it belongs to the cyprinid family. There are roughly 20 species of carp in existence today. But the most numerous and widespread, just two main types. Over here in East Asia we call it grass carp. In Europe, they know it as common carp, which means there is no such species called Asian carp, biologically. So, if there is no fish named Asian carp, then what exactly does the term Asian carp, as used by Americans, refer to? It doesn't point to just one specific species. No, it refers to a whole group of fish. Think of it as an umbrella term for various freshwater fish from Asia, and among these, the most representative, and also the worst invaders, are four main types. These are China's four major domesticated fish: black carp, grass carp, silver carp, and bighead carp. When Americans say Asian carp, they're mostly talking about these guys. So by now, you might have noticed, among the four major domesticated fish, there isn't actually a common carp. Logically speaking, carps play a pretty big role in Chinese culture, right? Take traditional New Year paintings. May you have surplus year after year, or wealth and abundance. They usually feature carps. Two whiskers on the mouth, instantly recognizable as a carp, or consider koi fish, symbolizing good fortune. Those are also carps variants bred from common stock. Then there's the carp leaping over the dragon gate, symbolizing ambition and success. You could say Chinese people know carps better than anyone. Yet when you look at the four major domesticated fish, so why is there no carp? It really defies intuition. There are many theories on this. Some say during the Tang dynasty, because the emperor had the surname Li, eating carp was banned, which ironically made them famous. Others claim carps just don't taste as good as those four species. The rule for domesticated fish prioritized flavor, so carp didn't make the cut. There are various explanations like this. In short, they were left out of the game entirely. So since the four major domesticated fish invading America, and not carps, why do Americans still call them Asian carp? And taxonomically speaking, all four belong to the order Cypriniformes. They aren't even closely related to true carps. How did they become known as carp? This story begins back in the 1960s. Back then, many American fish farmers hit a major snag. At that time, agriculture and livestock were expanding rapidly. Fertilizers and animal waste washed into waterways with every rain, leading to eutrophication of the waters. In some areas, blue-green algae bloomed directly, creating oxygen-deprived dead zones. Elsewhere, aquatic weeds grew wildly, breeding vast numbers of snails and parasites. These impacts were huge for fish farming. Then there was another issue at that time. Humans had just started realizing the dangers of DDT. All sorts of pesticides and herbicides couldn't be used anymore. There wasn't much else to do. Technology simply couldn't catch up yet. So, to help farmers solve these problems, an expert proposed a suggestion: try biological control. They said from the distant east come the four divine fish: grass, carp, silver, and bighead. Each leads its own style with unique skills. Among them, the silver carp and bighead fish are especially good at swallowing planktonic algae. These guys scrub away the blue-green algae, purifying the water. Then there's the grass carp. They love aquatic plants. You drop them into waters overrun with weeds, and just to top it off, add in the black carp that munches on snails. Together, these four handle every single problem. Pretty perfect, right? So Americans invited all four major domesticated fish over there, waiting for them to show what they were made of. And later on, the results held up well too. Like an interview back then, 350 fish released. Problem solved in 2 months. That efficient, farmers were thrilled, calling them the good ones. But let's rewind to the 1960s. Back then, these four weren't families yet. Just genera. They only split into separate families later on, so at that time, their English names all ended with carp, grass carp for grass carp, black carp for black carp. Wait no, bighead fish called silver carp, silverfish called bighead carp. These four were from the same order too. Imported together. That's why they got labeled Asian carp. That explains it, despite not being common carp, that's what Americans called them. But what happened next? Everyone knows, as expected, these four spread into the wild, though, how did they get out? Some debate. The most popular story is this. In the 1990s, a massive flood hit and fish ponds were washed away, and then they got swept right into the Mississippi River. People say it looks like a natural disaster, just an accident. But scientists later spoke up, turns out that is not what happened at all. Back in the 70s, they were already finding escaped Asian carp in certain waters. It wasn't about flooding, though anyway. No matter how they got there. Once these Asian carps made it out, they took hold fast and built a population quickly. Especially since the Mississippi Basin is quite similar to systems like the Yangtze or Pearl River, same climate, rich in nutrients. Plenty of food available, perfect conditions for them to breed in large numbers. And here is another thing. The four great domesticated fish are common table fare back home, but they were pretty unpopular in America. Why is that? Maybe it has something to do with the name Asian carp. See, before these fish arrived, the US had already imported what we call European carp, way earlier, around the 1700s, brought over by settlers as food from their homeland. Now everyone knows about carp. They like rooting around in the mud at the bottom of water bodies to find a meal. Those whiskers, used for sensing food deep in the silt. Basically when they eat, they often swallow sediment along with it and spit out the dirt again. It churns up the water until it is murky, gives people the feeling that they re-eating trash, like scavengers. So Americans' stereotype of European carp is simple, they are a type of trash fish. Speaking of these four great domesticated fish, their habits are totally different from common carp. But because they all get lumped under the name Asian carps, people in America just assume they re-trash too. Nobody wants to eat them anymore. So if people aren't eating them, do they have natural predators? Well, yes, there are plenty of local hunters, bass, catfish, sunfish, even lots of water birds eat them. But here is the catch. Most only dare to nibble on fry, targeting juveniles that haven't grown yet. Once they grow up, 30 centimeters long, weighing several kilos, they basically invincible. Only a few big guys left, like the alligator gar or blue catfish, can still fight them back. But there are too few of them to handle it all. In the biosphere this has a technical term, size escape. One Asian carp lays over 1 million eggs every year. Even if many get eaten, the survivors grow into big fish and breed. This speed outpaces their predators' digestion capacity. Want to limit them? Hard, so they reproduce incredibly fast. By the time it becomes a disaster, American attitudes shift completely. From little sweetie, straight to the nasty wife, those four heavenly kings back, then all became invasive species. The most troublesome kind. This gives Americans a huge headache. Then again, the four kings have different habits, and explosive power levels vary. Two of them are especially terrifying, combat stats off the charts. Let's talk about them. The ones causing the most chaos in America, mainly two, silver carp and bighead carp. Their numbers explode, making up 95% of the total. The reason is easy to understand. They are filter feeders. They live off plankton. Think about it. This is the foundation of the food chain, the rations for other animals, and when these two open their mouths to suck in water, they act like living vacuums, sweeping up all the nutrients in the water. Native fish are starving for sure. They just can't compete with them at all. Take certain stretches of the Mississippi River, reports say 9 out of 10 fish. There are Asian carp, native species have become rare instead. So silver carp and bighead carps take most of the blame for this mess. Now, These two species are known mostly for one thing. They love to jump out of the water. In fact, silver carp alone makes up about 80% of all Asian carp in that region. Trump described them as violent and destructive, which is pretty accurate, especially the violence part everyone has seen by now. Picture this, a fish weighing several kilos, even 10 or more, slamming into you at high speed. That is no joke. Reports say ribs have been broken, jaws knocked off, vital spots hit. In short, it gets pretty brutal. The ones you see in viral videos are mostly silver carps. The bighead carp is a close relative from the same genus. They both belong to the carp family, often just called common fish or fat head fish locally. Everyone knows them well. Authentic steamed fish head with chili peppers uses this one because it has the biggest heads. Think about it. A single head can be nearly a third of their body weight. So who else would you use? Right, now while they don't jump out of the water like silver carps and aren't as noticeable, their bodies are much larger. The biggest ones reach 40 or 50 kilos in weight. Basically they consume plankton daily amounting to about 20% of their own body mass. So they pose a massive threat to the environment too. Like silver carp, they reeky invaders. What about the Asian carp invasion? It's been happening for decades. The US has fought it. But why did things suddenly escalate this year? Let's dive deeper. Why do their impacts run so deep? It comes down to where they struck. The Mississippi River. This watershed ranks just after the Amazon, Congo and Nile. Fourth largest on Earth. And it covers 40% of American territory across 31 states. Like a major artery for the nation. Now Asian carp have seized control of the entire river. That's like invading 2/5 of America. Just imagine that scope. It gives anyone a real headache. The Mississippi has fallen. But this invasion isn't over yet. Their next target could be even bigger and more explosive. Is the Great Lakes. What do they actually hold? They are the world's largest freshwater complex. 1/5 of Earth's liquid, fresh water, sits right there in them. Spread those waters across American soil, and it would cover everything to a depth of 3 meters. That is just insane. So here's what we were lucky about. The Great Lakes system and Mississippi River system are naturally independent, not connected. Thus Asian carp don't seem to have reached the lakes yet. But where lies the danger now? It starts with this canal. The Chicago Canal. It was dug about 100 years ago. They literally connected the Great Lakes and the Mississippi River. Can you imagine how much of a headache that is, right? So this became the most likely entry point for Asian carp into the Great Lakes. Now to stop these fish, Americans actually got moving early on. Even the military stepped in. The US Army built a sort of electric fence along their path. 3 lines of defense pumping electricity directly into the water, with each one stronger than the last. All to keep Asian carp from slipping through. So did this barrier work? Yes, it really does. At least for now, the main swarm is still held back outside Haven. Breached this shield yet, but wait, not completely foolproof. Like in 2017, they actually found an adult silver carp behind the barrier. It was only 15 kilometers from Lake Michigan, luckily snagged by fishermen, which means this thing is foolproof after all, right? And especially in recent years, what new tech have Americans used? It is called EDNA technology, basically testing environmental DNA, taking water samples to see if there are traces of Asian carp DNA inside. Of course, this test result can confirm live specimens directly, because it could also be from bird droppings or pollutants carried by boats. But if detection becomes more frequent, that might just mean the defenses have been breached. But now, this possibility has actually come true. Water samples taken behind those locks keep turning up silver carp DNA, even in Lake Michigan itself. Take Trump's recent post about Asian carp rapidly taking over. He was referring to these test results, not finding live fish swimming around. It is a bit exaggerated. So if 3 electric gates can guarantee safety, we need another plan, right? Someone suggested just building a massive dam to block the canal entirely. Then all cargo would be transferred across the top of that barrier. This would be foolproof. But doing so would skyrocket freight costs. The price tag is high. Besides there's one more option mentioned at the start, Trump's $1.15 billion project. What do they call it? The Brandon Road, Lock and Dam. It means building another interception wall on the river channel. This time though, we won't rely just on electric gates, acoustic barriers and bubble curtains will be added too. Even the locks use improved technology. Much more advanced. Basically, this plan is designed to leave no room for error. That's exactly how it works. And of course, there are debates over spending $1.15 billion on this project. After all, do Asian carp really have to break through right there? They could slip in via other small streams, or even loop around Canada, before entering the Great Lakes. Or maybe some individual act, intentional or not, took them straight into the lakes. So wouldn't that money just be wasted? That is a concern too. In short, no one can guarantee if we'll stop them from reaching the Great Lakes anyway, right? Compared to all this uncertainty, controlling their numbers and reducing damage becomes urgent. Moving on then, we talked about it, Asian carp are everywhere now. Too many, too big. Nature alone won't fix that. So what do? Humans have to step in. After all, humans created this mess. You've seen the videos online, people driving boats into schools of fish, to make them jump out nets, bows and arrows, spears, even iron maces, just wild ways to kill them. Fighting invasive species, posting it up for views usually gets decent numbers. But in my opinion, honestly, it doesn't seem like much of a solution. How many can you actually catch that way? Not enough to make an impact. Plus, all those speedboats add their own pollution. Sure, posting videos might raise some awareness about invasive species. That works on paper. But what actually solves this? It's figuring out how to put them to work. For example, professional teams haul in nets or shock the water, pulling up massive amounts of these fish and processing it into fish meal for livestock feed. That is an option too. Right, if Americans aren't ready to eat them yet, feeding animals counts as using the biomass. Doesn't it? Of course. The real fix is simple, get people eating them. Look at those silver carps or bigheads. They're huge. In China, they're standard fare with great taste. No worries there. There's just one catch though. Lots of tiny pin bones. Chinese style means cooking the whole fish and eating it with chopsticks. You suck on it and spit the bones out easily. But Americans use knives and forks. They aren't used to that method. They're accustomed to filleting the meat into big chunks for their forks, which makes handling those small bones a nightmare. So now, some people are researching an American-friendly way to eat them. There's even a book, the Asian Carp Cookbook. It tries to build the habit, a solid attempt, and remember what we said before. Americans have some serious bias against the word carp. People tend to label them trash fish, and that reputation really weighs heavy on everyone involved. But as we mentioned earlier, silver carps and bigheads feed exclusively on plankton. They are genuinely clean species. In fact, they might be even healthier than the carnivorous fish many Americans eat regularly. Being called a trash fish is such an injustice. So officials have been pushing for this over recent years, a name change for Asian carps. What should we call them now? We're calling it copy. It stands for copious, meaning abundance. See that? That sounds much better already. As for whether Americans will ever truly accept eating these fish one day, let's just wait and see.